the former president said about not, he would never have been attracted to her. Watch this.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla, yeah. That's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to?
No, that's
Here.
Carol.
Oh, is that?
The person you just pointed to was
I
E. Jean
see.
Carroll.
Who is that? Who is this?
Point, your wife.
And the woman on the right is your then wife,
I don't know.
Ivana?
This was the picture. I assume that's John Johnson. Is that?
That's Carol.
Because it's very blurry.
Your thoughts on that, Andy, as it might have been interpreted by this jury?
Well, I think the context for this, Martha, is that he said she wasn't his type. So, the last person you would want to confuse her with would be someone you married.
Yes.
I suspect the conclusion instead for a lot of people will be that a witch hunt is a sort of an obsession that you go on forever in an investigative fashion, chasing after a case that doesn't really exist. Whereas in this instance, people brought forward evidence and it was presented to a jury, not to a panel of Democrats. And they've unanimously found that he's liable. And I think, again, they did it in a discriminating way. So they were not willing to say that he committed rape. I suspect what happened here is because of the lack of forensic support for Miss Carroll's story, the jury was only willing to go as far as the corroboration she had in the way of these other witnesses who came forward who didn't allege that they were raped. They alleged that they were, subjected to sexual assault and touching, but not rape. And that's where the jury ended up. So I don't think this is a case where he's going to be able to say that everybody had it in for him. It looks to me like this jury looked at this pretty carefully and came to a reasonable conclusion. Do I know what happened any more than anyone else does, other than the people who were there? Of course not. But this is not the same thing as a witch hunt.
Yeah, not great if you're Trump and hoping to get some protection on the biggest conservative network in America. And instead you get this. That Fox contributor is Andy McCarthy, and before the right-wing media ecosystem derides him as some bleeding heart liberal, he is a longtime Republican who, back in 2008, said that Obama's personal radicalism, including his collaboration with radical America-hating leftists, should have been disqualifying. So yeah, not quite the leftist that Republicans would like to make him out to be. And right off the bat, he points out the fatal flaw in Trump's defense, that he couldn't possibly have abused E. Jean Carroll because she wasn't his type, which was, of course, immediately undermined when he went on to confuse Carroll for his wife. Doesn't exactly drive home the not my type message when you literally married the same type. McCarthy then went on to puncture Trump's whole witch hunt talking point, which, of course, by now has no meaning. It's just one of the buzzwords that Trump lazily throws out to try and absolve himself in the court of public opinion. But this wasn't some interminable witch hunt. It was a case brought forward with evidence and witnesses, and E. Jean Carroll was able to convince a jury of regular people, which was approved by Trump's legal team, to unanimously find Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation. That's not the result of some witch hunt. That's the result of the strength of her case and the weakness of Trump's. Consider, too, if Trump felt so strongly about his own innocence here, then you'd think he would bother actually showing up to defend himself, which, of course, he failed to do. The guy was so busy dealing with his golf course in Ireland that he never bothered to show up in court. Not exactly something you do when you're convinced of your own innocence. And of course, Trump had about as bad a reaction as you could imagine.
What else can you expect from a Trump-hating, Clinton-appointed judge who went out of his way to make sure that the result of this trial was as negative as it could possibly be, speaking to and in control of a jury from an anti-Trump area, which is probably the worst place in the United States for me to get a fair trial. We'll be appealing this decision. It's a disgrace. I don't even know who this woman is. I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt. And somehow we're going to have to fight this stuff. We cannot let our country go into this abyss. This is disgraceful. You have somebody running for office. You have a woman that's financed and lied about it. She totally lied about it by Democrat operatives, like just about the biggest one there is. And she said that wasn't true. They found that she lied about it, and the judge wasn't even, I guess, letting it be put in as evidence. The whole thing is a scam, and it's a shame, and it's a disgrace to our country.
Now, a few points here. Again, this was a jury of Trump's own peers approved by Trump's attorneys. This wasn't the meeting of the Vermont Communist Party. These are unbiased Americans who don't have strong political leanings one way or the other. They were just operating under a set of facts in the case, and the facts of the case were pretty cut and dry, which is why Trump's now on the hook for $5 million in damages. Another point is that while Trump complains about the case being brought in New York, here's the thing. If you don't want to stand trial in New York, then don't commit crimes in New York. Like, yeah, I'm sure that you'd prefer to have the trial moved to Mar-a-Lago's ballroom and have the jurors be his Truth Social reply guys, but sadly for Trump, it doesn't work like that. You gotta love too how he claims not to know who E. Jean Carroll is. Because first of all, this is a common Trump tactic. Anytime that someone in Trump's orbit becomes inconvenient for him, he suddenly doesn't know who they are. This is the same guy who said that Paul Manafort, his campaign chairman, came into the campaign very late and was with us for a short period of time. He called George Papadopoulos, his foreign policy advisor, a low-level volunteer. He said of Gordon Sondland, his EU ambassador and campaign donor, "I have not spoken to him much. This is not a man I know well." He said Michael Cohen, his own lawyer and personal fixer, did a, quote, tiny fraction of his legal work. I swear, if Don Jr. ever ratted out his father, guaranteed that Trump would demand a DNA test to confirm they were even related. And beyond that, there is literal photographic evidence. This right here is a photo of Trump talking to E. Jean Carroll. So with regard to his claim that they never met, it looks like, yet again, reality has gotten in the way of Trump's lies. And of course, Trump promised to appeal this ruling, and that'll drag the process out further. But remember, in order for the appeal to be successful, he's going to have to prove a material error in the trial. An appeal isn't just a blanket do-over, and there wouldn't be new witnesses or new evidence. All of which is to say that while Trump will move forward with his appeal anyway, there's a very high likelihood that he's just delaying the inevitable here. Granted, Trump is no stranger to the courtroom these days. Only weeks earlier, he was indicted in the Manhattan District Attorney case for his illegal hush money payout to Stormy Daniels. That trial is expected to start as early as January 2024. And then, of course, Trump is contending with 2 special counsel investigations, both for the stolen classified documents in Mar-a-Lago and inciting an insurrection on January 6th. He's contending with possible indictment in Fulton County, Georgia, for pressuring Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes that didn't exist. He's contending with a business fraud investigation with the New York Attorney General's office. There are probably more, but keeping track of Trump's prosecutions is like keeping track of Nick Cannon's kids. But I will say that the fact that he ever pretended to lead a party that's branded itself the Law and Order Party is about as big a joke as you could possibly imagine. So if you're wondering why Trump is running for president again, sure, he wants the power, he wants the attention, but what he's really looking for is a get-out-of-jail-free card. He needs to insulate himself from the avalanche of legal accountability that's coming his way, and he knows full well that the only way to do that is by becoming president, by having the levers of government there to protect him. And that air of invincibility isn't just what Trump wants, it is what Trump needs as he stares down the barrel of a barrage of impending indictments. So I'm certain that we haven't seen the last of Trump's daily meltdowns, but remember that these aren't coming from a position of strength, they're coming from a position of weakness. He knows that he's finally being held accountable for his criminal behavior. Juries of his peers can see it, conservative commentators on Fox News can see it, and even he can see it. He's not upset because he thinks he's innocent, he's upset because he knows he's been caught. Before you go, I need your help. I'm right on the cusp of hitting 2 million subscribers, so please help me grow this channel so the progressive media ecosystem grows by hitting the subscribe button right here on the screen. I also started a Spanish channel so we can finally start regaining some of that lost ground among Spanish speakers, so if you want to help support those efforts, you can hit that subscribe button. And finally, if you listen to podcasts and you want to support mine, you'll find a link to that on the screen as well. Thanks so much for watching.